The sun was a merciless blaze over the cracked asphalt of Route 66, the kind of heat that made the air shimmer and the horizon waver like a dream. Dust clung to everything, coating the faded sign of Joe's auto shop in a gritty film. Joe Harper, a man with grease-stained hands and a heart too big for his threadbare life, wiped sweat from his brow and squinted at the empty road. It was a slow day, like most days, in the nowhere town of Dustbowl, Arizona. The shop, a ramshackle haven of rusted tools and flickering fluorescent lights, was all he had left of his father's legacy, a legacy of fixing what was broken. No matter how small the pay or how big the problem. Joe was 38, with lines etched into his face that told stories of sleepless nights and unpaid bills. His jeans were patched, his boots scuffed, and his dreams, well, those had been shelved years ago when his father passed, leaving him the shop and a mountain of debt. But Joe had a gift. He could make anything run again, from a sputtering Chevy to a heart that had forgotten how to hope. He didn't think much of it, though, just did what needed doing. That's who he was. Out on the horizon, a low rumble broke the silence, like thunder rolling in slow. A motorcycle, sleek and black as midnight, wobbled dangerously, its engine coughing like a dying beast. Joe straightened, his instincts kicking in. Someone was in trouble. He grabbed a rag, wiped his hands half clean and stepped into the blazing sun. The bike limped to a stop just outside the shop, kicking up a cloud of dust. The rider, clad in black leather that looked too pristine for the desert, swung a leg over and yanked off her helmet. A cascade of dark hair spilled out, catching the light like polished obsidian. She was young, maybe late 20s, with sharp, green eyes that held a storm of frustration and something else, something Joe couldn't quite place. She kicked the bike's tire, muttering a curse under her breath. Piece of junk, she snapped, though her voice had a tremor that betrayed more than just anger. Joe approached, hands in his pockets, his easy smile disarming. Sounds like she's got a temper. Let's see what's wrong with her. The woman glanced up, startled, as if she hadn't noticed him until now. Her gaze flicked over his worn flannel shirt, the grease smudge on his cheek, the shop that looked one bad day from collapsing. She hesitated, then nodded. Fine. But I'm in a hurry. Joe crouched beside the bike, a custom Harley that screamed money, more money than he'd see in a year. He ran his fingers along the engine, feeling for the problem like a doctor, checking a pulse. Name's Joe, he said, not looking up. You got a name, or should I just call you Biker Girl? A beat of silence. Then Lila. Lila, he repeated, testing the word like it was a spark plug he could fix. Nice name. Let's get you back on the road. Lila. She didn't respond, just crossed her arms and watched him work. Joe didn't mind the silence. He was used. Two IT people didn't come to Dustbowl for conversation. They came to pass through, to leave the desert behind. But Lila wasn't like most travelers. Her boots were too clean, her posture too rigid, like she was carrying a weight she didn't know how to set down. The problem was simple, a clogged fuel line. Nothing a quick flush couldn't fix. But as Joe worked, he noticed the bike's pristine exterior hid signs of neglect: worn brake pads, a loose chain, a spark plug on its last legs. This wasn't just a breakdown, it was a machine begging for care. He glanced at Lila, wondering what kind of person rode a bike like this and let it fall apart. Been a while since this beauty got some love, he said, keeping his tone light. You ride hard, don't you? Lila's eyes narrowed, but there was a flicker of something, guilt maybe. I don't have time to baby it, she said curtly. Just fix it. Joe nodded, not pushing. He worked fast, his hands moving with the precision of someone who'd spent a lifetime under hoods and engines. Within 20 minutes, the Harley roared back to life, its growl smooth and steady. Lila's shoulders relaxed, just a fraction, but enough for Joe to notice. That'll do it, he said, standing and wiping his hands on the rag. It should get you wherever you're going. Where's that, by the way? Lila hesitated, her fingers tightening on her helmet. Nowhere, she said finally. Just away. Joe raised an eyebrow but didn't press. He'd seen enough runaways, running from trouble, some from themselves. Well, nowhere's a big place. You'll need a good bike to get there. She almost smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. How much do I owe you? Joe scratched the back of his neck, glancing at the shop. The electric bill was overdue, and the fridge held nothing but a half-empty jar of mustard. But leather jacket was designer, her bike worth more than his entire life, and something about her screamed she could pay whatever he asked. Still, he couldn't shake the memory of his father's voice. Asterisk, fix what's broken. Joe, not just the machine, person, too. Asterisk, $20, he said, covers the parts. Lila blinked, clearly expecting a higher number. She reached into her jacket, pulled out a crisp 100, and held it out. Keep the change. Joe shook his head. 20's fine. Keep your money. Her hand froze, mid-air, and for a moment, she looked at him like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. You're kidding. Nope. He shoved his hands in his pockets, meeting her gaze. You look like you need a break, more than I need your cash. Lila's lips parted, but no words came. She stuffed the bill back in her pocket, muttering something about stubborn mechanics, and swung onto the bike. Before she pulled her helmet on, she paused, her green eyes locking onto his. Thanks, Joe, she said, and there was a softness in her voice that hadn't been there before. He nodded, stepping back. Ride safe, Lila. The Harley roared off, leaving a trail of dust and the faint scent of expensive perfume. Joe watched until she was a speck on the horizon, then turned back to the shop, already forgetting her. Just another traveler, just another day. He didn't know that Lila wasn't just another traveler. He didn't know that her real name was Lila Voss, heiress to a tech empire worth billions. A woman who'd spent her life surrounded by people who wanted her money, her status, her power, but never her. He didn't know she was running from a world of boardrooms and betrayal, searching for something real, something that didn't come with a price tag. And he definitely didn't know that she'd be back 3 days later. The shop's bell jingled, a sound so rare Joe almost dropped his wrench. He looked up from a rusted Ford to see Lila standing in the doorway, her leather jacket replaced by a simple white t-shirt and jeans. She looked different, less guarded, but still like she didn't belong in Dustbowl. Your bike break down again? Joe asked, wiping his hands. No, she said, shifting her weight. I need a favor. Joe leaned against the Ford, curious. What kind of favor? Lila glanced around the empty shop, as if checking for eavesdroppers in a town with more tumbleweeds than people. I need a place to stay just for a few days. I can pay. Joe frowned. You've got a fancy bike and $100 to throw around, but no place to crash. Her jaw tightened. It's complicated. He studied her, noting the shadows under her eyes, the way her hands fidgeted. She wasn't just running, she was hiding. All right, he said finally. There's a cot in the back room. It's not much, but it's clean. No charge. Lila's eyes widened. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. Joe shrugged. Don't need to know you to see you're in trouble. My dad always said, help where you can, 'cause the world's hard enough. She looked away, her throat bobbing. Your dad sounds like a good man. Joe's voice softened. Lost him 5 years ago. Heart attack. I'm sorry, Lila said, and it sounded like she meant it. Joe waved it off. Cot's yours. Just don't touch the tools there. Temperamental. For the next few days, Lila became a quiet fixture in the shop. She didn't talk much, but she watched Joe work, asking questions about carburetors and spark plugs like she was trying to learn something new about the world. Joe noticed little things. The way she flinched at loud noises. The way she checked her phone obsessively but never answered it. He didn't ask questions, though. He figured she'd talk when she was ready. One evening, as the sun painted the desert gold, Lila sat on a stool by the workbench, sipping a soda Joe had dug out of a dusty cooler. Why do you stay here? She asked suddenly. This place, it's falling apart. You could go anywhere. Joe chuckled, tightening a bolt. On an old Chevy, where would I go? This shop's home. Besides, people need me here. Not a lot of mechanics in Dustbowl. She tilted her head, studying him. You're different. Different how? You don't want anything. Everyone wants something. Joe paused, meeting her gaze. Maybe I just want to fix what's broken. Lila's eyes held his for a long moment, and something passed between them, something unspoken but heavy with possibility. Then she looked away, her fingers tightening around the soda can. That night, Joe woke to the sound of crying. He found Lila on the cot, her face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking. He hesitated, then sat beside her, not touching, just there. Want to talk about it? He asked quietly. She shook her head, but after a moment, the words spilled out. I'm tired, Joe. Tired of running. Tired of hiding. Tired of people seeing me as a paycheck. I thought if I left it all behind, I'd find something real. But I don't even know what that is anymore. Joe listened, his heart aching for this woman who had everything and nothing. Real's not out there, he said finally, gesturing to the desert beyond the shop. It's in the little things, a fixed bike, a cold soda. So